Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Intro to Programming. This is lesson 6, and we're getting into functions now. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. Looks like we have a library here. Let's go ahead and import that. So functions are a way to reuse and organize your code. Let's say we have some code and we want to use it multiple times. In this instance, we have to run the script multiple times if we want to play the game multiple times. So let's take a look at this. And we want to do that. All right, so we have a little guessing game here. And it just compares to see if the numbers are equal. And if not, then it says, nope, the number was, and then whatever the string of whatever the number was. So let's go ahead and save this and run it. All right, say 5. The number was 3. Okay, to play this game again, we would need to rerun the file again, which is fine, but let's say this is a chunk of code that we want to use over and over and over again throughout our program here. It would be nice to have a way to do that. So we use functions. And let me go ahead and comment this out. All right. Okay. So when you declare a function, you have to put this def for define. So define and then whatever you want your function name to be. And then you have to put parentheses afterward and a colon. If you remember when we did if, elif, and else statements, we used the colon on the first line to sort of denote that this was going to be an indented chunk. So what we have here, let's compare it to the code that we did have. So we've got our two variables here, guess, which takes the integer of whatever input we give, and then we've got the computer's number, or a computer's guess, as it were. So we're just saying from random run rand int, and that'll give us a random integer between 1 and 10. Or we could do rand range. Either is fine. Then we've got the main chunk of our code. If the guess is equal to the computer number, print you guess the number. And then I have a couple more things, and we'll take a look at these. So if let's say we want to make it so if they want to play again, it just reruns the code. So what you can do is you can say if the input is let's see. And I just realized that this should say if input is equal to y. There we go. And let's check the one down here as well. That's correct. Okay. So if our input is equal to y, then we can run guess number, and we can do that just by putting the function name down with a couple parentheses. And we'll talk more about these parentheses in a minute here. And then you can say elif, nope, the number was, and then a string of whatever the computer picked. Do you want to play again? And then the same thing is all of that equal to y? Then if so, just run. It'll jump back up once you put the name of the function in. it'll jump back up to here and run the whole thing again. Now, if you type anything other than Y, it'll just exit, which is fine. But let's go ahead and give this a run. Let's see here. Oh, I need to call it. So the thing with functions is you can define them and you have all your code inside of them, but until you actually call them outside of the function, they aren't going, it isn't going to run just on its own. You need to call it first. So if you wanted to run this multiple times, you could do that, or you could use it in other places in your code. So now you have a nice handy block of code that you can reuse. So let's go ahead and call our function here, and then we'll run it. All right, there we go. Guess a number between 1 and 10. Let's say 3. Nope, the number was 10. Do you want to try again? Let's say Y, and it jumps back up to the top of the function. We'll say 5 this time. Number was 9. And then we'll just, you could put N or just enter and it'll exit. So anything other than Y will exit the function or these elif statements. So the thing about functions is that they can take in parameters. These are really handy if you want to pass in some data to the function from outside the function. So let's go ahead and comment U out as well as U, and uncomment this. Okay, so we're defining a new function, and this function is called add numbers. And it takes 2 arguments, A and B. An argument is just something that you pass from outside the function to inside the function. So what we can do with that, we can name these whatever we want. These are variable names. So you can just say, let's say we want the sum of A plus B. And then we're just going to print sum and then whatever the sum is. So let's take a look at this, for example. Let's see. Whoops. There we go. Let's say we just wanted 1 and 3. Those were the 2 numbers that we wanted. And let's go ahead and comment you out for a second. So we go ahead and run it. We're calling the function and we're giving it arguments this time. So, right. Okay. And in this case, it gives us our sum, which is 4. So it took the numbers and passed them in, and there we go. You can do anything, any kind of variable that you can name, or any kind of item, object that you can put inside of a variable, you can put in an argument. As long as your code has the ability to actually do something with that. Otherwise, you could just be passing in data that isn't going to do any good. But let's say we want to find the numbers 2 plus 243 and then 3 plus 4. And we want to add those together. So it will add the 2 and the 243 for 255, or 245 rather. And then it'll add 3 and 4 together to get 7, and then it'll do 255 plus 7, which is equal to 252. So that's functions, pretty much. If you have any questions on these, let me know, but they're pretty easy to understand. Let's go ahead and do that and then save. Okay. So for the assignment for this week, we are going to continue on the work that we did last week. So we did rock, paper, scissors. So what your goal is for this assignment is to expand your rock, paper, scissors code and make it so users can play multiple rounds without having to run the script a second time. So like we were doing down here with the functions, you can pass it through an if statement that checks to see if the user wants to play again. And you can say if user input equals y, then run again, or just put the function name. You can name it whatever you want. All right, so that's the assignment for this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at last week's assignment as let's see. There we go. All right, we need to go to 5 and select folder. There we go. Let's take a look at our project. Actually, you know what? This is where I would normally go to look at it, but I'm not going to write the code here while we're talking. I have a completed example, a couple examples actually. So let's go to the course material, and this has all of the files for the course. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So your code might look something like this, and we'll go over everything in here, and you can implement this in your own code if you want to. Don't have to. But first thing, we want to import that random library because we're going to be using it for the computer's choice. So the user level or the user input, we're just putting out an input, and then we're saying type rock, paper, scissors to play. And then I added this dot lower here just in case this forces the string that gets put into this input to be in lowercase. So just in case somebody types it in with a capital R for rock or so on, this will make it all lowercase. So then we have our computer's moves. We just have a list with rock, paper, and scissors. And then the computer choice is just going to be random.choice and then the possible moves. So you'll notice this is a lot of if statements. So the first one is if the user input is equal to the computer choice, we're just going to say draw. And then you chose, I chose to have it say that what we chose and what the computer chose, just to make things clear. So we're doing this print statement here, and it says draw, and the /n is a way to tell the print statement to print a new line. So it's not printing all on the same line. So that's what that's for. You chose and then plus whatever the user input was, and the computer chose plus whatever the computer's choice was. And there you go. So there are the thing with that is you have to do that for every case that this happens because we're comparing the user input to the computer choice. That saves another 2 if statements so that we don't have to do it every time that there's a draw. This just has all 3 cases in one. So what we can do though is instead of having a bunch of elifs, we can go to iteration 2 here. We can use OR statements. So essentially the thing is that we want to print something if we win and print something if we lose. And in this case, it prints draw, win, or lose, and it tells you what the user choice and the computer choice was, just to sort of verify that it is. So you're not taking it on faith. You can just you can tell what the computer chose and what you chose, and make that determination for yourself. So we can essentially take 3 of these elifs. So we want all the win conditions, and we can put them inside of parentheses and put OR statements in between them. This is the same as if we were to, let's see, do this and this, but it just makes it a lot easier to read, because having to scroll all the way to the right is it gets tiring after a while after you've done it enough. So that's why they're laid out this way. But you just want to make sure you have them in parentheses and you have the OR statement in between each of them. And so there you go. You have your win condition, and then you have another elif for your lose condition. And there you go. That's a little bit more efficient way of making rock, paper, scissors. So if you want to take these ideas and implement them in your own code, feel free to do that. And go ahead and do the assignment where you are putting everything inside of a function and making it so you can play the game multiple times without having to run the file multiple times. All right, that's going to do it for this lesson. I hope you guys have fun with this, because this is meant to be kind of fun. So I hope you have a good time with this, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye now.